Welcome to WW1 Total War. I'm outnumbered 2-1 by a 14,000 strong French army. They have a huge, heavy cavalry wing with thousands of elite infantry to back them up. They also have 30 field guns, which outrange most of my artillery. Drastically outnumbered, I have set up a defensive perimeter. I must drive the French back or risk being overwhelmed with numbers. However, I'm not particularly worried because I have 400 mortars and 200 howitzers. This is why World War I descended into a stalemate, and why CA should probably stay away from this time period. But more on that later. For now, let's watch the carnage. The French army consists of crack troops, led by their best general Ferdinand Foch. However, they're going to have to assault a layered defensive line manned by regular German infantry behind makeshift trenches. My light howitzers are now in range and start bombarding the German lines. They have a reload stat of 45, which is meaningless unless you compare it to the light mortar, which has a reload stat of 80+. You would have thought that the bigger the gun, the more powerful the impact. However, I've found that this is not the case, which is why I have 400 light mortars. Each mortar unit has 8 mortar teams, to the howitzers 4, and because of their reload stat, they fire twice as fast, meaning that for every shell a light howitzer puts down range, a light mortar unit will have put down 4 times as much. 16 shells from a light mortar compared to just 4 from the howitzer in the same amount of time. So in large groups they are devastating to infantry. The French do have elite heavy cavalry though, and decide to go for a charge. However, the French cavalry do not last long and are eventually pushed back out of the woods and back towards their positions. Meanwhile, on the German right flank, a large column of French infantry is getting pummeled by relentless mortar fire. I'm not sure that the French infantry on this flank ever get in range or form a battle line. The artillery fire is just too strong. If you guys want full speed close-ups, here you go. I can't turn the camera shake off unfortunately, so you can kind of see why I'm sticking to a top-down approach. I don't know about you, but by just watching this replay, you can start to understand how the British lost 58,000 men on the first day of the Somme offensive. They were sitting ducks. I deliberately leave my left flank somewhat exposed to test the French cavalry, and they launched a daring charge, seeking to destroy my exposed mortar teams. If they succeed, then my left flank will be completely wide open, allowing the French to sweep away my exposed back line. This is a good example of why the Germans' World War I Schlieffen plan worked really well. The plan itself consisted of allowing small, independently commanded stormtroopers to penetrate Allied lines, skirting around strong positions and taking out weak targets such as artillery, HQ and communications posts. This allowed the main German follow-up attack to succeed because the Allies could not coordinate their artillery and counterattack effectively. In Total War, massed artillery have a huge weakness, and that is flank or rear attacks. They cannot swing their guns around fast enough, and anything they fire at will probably cause some friendly fire. Unfortunately for the Allied cavalry, they were already too weak from the relentless artillery bombardments to launch a large enough attack to break through. It's now up to the massed French infantry to find a way to break through the German lines. The strongest French attack formation is on the German left flank, where they have maybe about 4,000 troops preparing to launch an assault. However, as you can see, they have to pass between 2 hills, which bottles them up. When you're facing massed artillery, this is the worst possible thing you can be doing. However, the French have no choice. It's the only way through. Every passing minute, the mortars are firing hundreds if not thousands of rounds, and not just at them. The French left flank is at complete loss. The centre is almost certainly suiciding against strong, dug-in German troops. So if there's any chance of saving this battle, they must attack now. To support their advance, the last French cuirassier cavalry launches a sudden charge against the centre of the German line, hoping to break through to the mortars. Their charge makes it through to the mortars, which are temporarily out of action. However, with 400 mortars at their disposal throughout the battlefield, it's not a decisive blow, and the mortar crews are soon back in action. And not a moment too soon, the French infantry push through the pass and assault the German defensive line on the left flank. It's a bloody affair. The French take immense casualties because of the small choke point, but the discipline of the French units allow them to continue advancing. You may think this looks a little crazy for the French, but what else were they supposed to do? This was World War I tactics, infantry advancing across open plains with no cover. That's what they did, and the French have no choice but to do exactly that in the face of withering fire and crazy artillery bombardments. The French infantry push on and finally make contact with the enemy. However, it is too little too late. The main French assault has already collapsed, and so reinforcements from the German side are sent immediately to bolster the left flank. One final cavalry charge from the blue-coated French hussars cannot save the day. The hussars, not realising their battlefield dominance, died in the 1800s and has been replaced with steel, guns and artillery.
After more than 4 years of fighting and 15 million dead, the guns were now silent.
If CA releases a World War I game, I think that for the first time, players could actually feel sadness at just the amount of destruction they are able to field. We've never before had such devastating weapons at our disposal to kill men with such ease. In the older Total War games, RT was always sort of a joke, a side piece for the infantry and cavalry. Never before has it been this capable of destroying tens of thousands of men with relative ease. Just making this video made me think of the intense experience that these real people had to go through. And of course, this battle is far from historically accurate, but it demonstrates why this was referred to as the Great War. It also shows us why the Allies and Axis forces had to fortify the front. No longer were men able to survive artillery fire when deployed in massed ranks. Gone were the line battles of the Napoleonic era. In their place, at least for the time being, was the trench warfare of World War I. And that is until the invention of the tank and combined arms warfare. I covered a lot of the problems that would face a Total War World War I in this previous video. There is one I didn't mention that I think was demonstrated here in this battle. Aside from the cavalry charge on my left flank, I hardly moved my units this entire game. The attacker got all the choices. The defender was able to just sit back and set everything to fire at will, which is what I did. This is important because while a successful defense is fun, having to constantly fight defensive battles in this same passive style is going to become incredibly boring. Removing options for choice and decision in a strategy game is a no-no. I hope that if CA do make a World War I game, that they would take this problem seriously. If you're wondering how I managed to create 100 units versus 100 units in this battle, you can check out this tutorial here. Check out the mod used in this video, the massively successful Great War mod for Napoleon Total War, featuring thousands of custom-made units and a huge campaign with multiple scenarios and in-game events. Go check it out, it's completely free and it's custom-made by insanely clever developers. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this carnage of a battle. Drop a like and subscribe for more historical Total War content. Take care.